Okay, that's not our problem. We need a bigger room for the people in the hall.
No, the problem is the village has to consent to it. We didn't ask ahead of time, so we can't just.
Is this a democracy or not?
I think it's a good idea, a bigger room.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
I think according to the public meetings law, you need to accommodate the people that are coming to the meeting.
There's an elevator.
There's a lot of interest, it just it makes more sense to let more people.
We'll carry you up. We'll carry you up.
There's an elevator. You can take the elevator.
We respect your incapacity. How many people are in there? We don't know how many people are still coming.
Room's got a capacity of 52.
I'm not really worried about the zoning officer coming, so if they can turn it and be quiet. That's great, but we don't have the authority to move.
Is the room open now? Who do you have to get the authority from?
Mayor.
There's 60
The mayor?
Senator.
How
We
come
moved
mayor?
upstairs last
Is
night.
it Mayor Mathiak?
Our room.
Okay, so who's got a cell phone?
I don't have any
The
goddamn.
janitor can open the door.
I think the mayor is
Bigger room, bigger room.
Joe. Joe.
Fire hazard.
Safety's at risk now.
That's all right.
Well, we can't prevent people from coming just because of the room.
I think there's a lot of interest in what's going on here. I think a bigger room would be very helpful.
A little late for that.
All we gotta do is walk upstairs, so we take 5 minutes. It's 10, it's 10 till, we got 10, we can't, it's not even the
Go
beginning.
on upstairs if you want to go upstairs. They're gonna
Your
stay
meeting,
here.
not yours.
I understand that. I'm just, as an observer, it seems like that there's more people here than.
Just observe instead of,
We need a bigger room, Mayor.
We need a bigger room. It's your call. Not be able to come to the meeting just because of a room.
Okay, town. Let's listen to the town now.
Joe,
We got 10 minutes till the meeting starts.
there's a chair.
Mathiak.
I can't hold that chair.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I'm not a
You know, come on.
Get over it. You might just well sit down. I don't know yet. Yeah.
You're a lover?
Yeah, you're a lover.
Is that where you were at? I couldn't.
Oh, they don't. Oh, they don't.
You're on the Democratic.
There's a lawyer.
So many people in there.
It's like Joe. It's like you wait till you hear. You know, if I kick that, you can't. I can't help it. I have to move.
Okay, I'll try to move.
That's fine.
Everybody's in everybody's space. Are you kidding? There's not enough room there. Would you please request to move the room if you think that's a good idea?
Why?
Why not? 2 months ago.
Why not?
There's people in the hall. There's 10 people in the hall.
We need to have the public in here. They have the right to be in this meeting.
Why have you gotta be so arrogant?
You're so, really?
Huh?
I think this is, let's call the fire department.
We used to request a larger room. And there's 12, there's 13, 14 people standing in the hallway. I think you really should.
What is this?
There you go.
Me and Eric.
Grow up.
You have to excuse them, they went to a
It's
training.
the anesthesia.
Are we illegally in this room?
Anybody got a copy of the sheriff's gas law?
Can everybody?
Okay.
I want to see Bill Houston's camera.
Can't hear me.
Oh, so you know who took it? Oh, so you know who took it?
There.
Hey, Doug. Can you get a bigger room?
Has everybody volunteered to have their taxes raised and try on this sheet? Just a sign-in sheet. Can everybody sign in?
Yeah.
This is why I don't watch TV.
Like we should have opened meeting 2 months ago.
I know, but we
I'll pay you for protection.
Let's go, come on in.
It doesn't exceed the amount of people in the room.
Be patient.
I'm trying to find.
Sure, I have nothing to hide.
I don't either, sir.
That's why you have private meetings?
Private meeting? Yeah, sure.
Private meetings aren't held unless there's something to hide.
Albert, doesn't bother.
I personally think the room's a fire hazard.
There's got.
We can go out the window.
Oh, yeah, it's open.
Okay, they don't have that. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Due to this problem here, I'm going to change the format of the meeting, and we're gonna do this resolution right now.
Yeah, having heard from everybody at the public hearing, and I thank everybody for attending, and the numerous letters we got, I want to, say I've been solicited much by the people that are opposed to the pipeline. I am, however, a fan of infrastructure for the town of Sidney. I think it would be good for Sidney, and I make a motion that we accept the franchise agreement with Leatherstocking.
Postpone the
All
vote!
in favor?
Postpone the vote! 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 Ethanol is leaving! Ethanol is leaving! Postpone the vote! 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 Call the police! Call the police! Call the police! Call the police!
Postpone the vote.
Postpone the vote!
Postpone the vote. Postpone the vote. Postpone the vote. Postpone the vote. Post shame.
They didn't
You
vote on
make
the
me
agenda
sick.
change.
You know it? You are really.
You just ruined your life. You don't even realize it.
You
You
are the
just
most
ruined your life.
pathetic person I have ever met.
Self-centered, self-serving.
People of the audience.
Thank you. John Schaefer, your constituents of the town of Sidney go to your shop.
None of you have.
Nobody wants the pipeline.
Not
You think
one
I'm going
of
to go
you.
back to your shop?
You are an attorney.
I'm going to make sure your shop is
You are a
down.
lawyer.
Your shop
Mr.
is
O'Malley.
down.
Do you represent the people of the
You work on legal, ethical, moral.
You are so unethical.
Hey, Hamilton, you're a loser. You will not win.
You're out.
Hey,
So are you.
hey,
You're a loser.
I nominate.
the whole board of you,
You
you're
know,
all an insult.
on what basis is it that you have a law degree? What basis is it that
You
you
will
have a
never
law
win
degree?
another election in this
You're out.
town ever again. Never, 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 never.
Nobody knows.
Hey, Hamilton,
Hamilton.
you're a loser.
Hamilton.
You're not gonna get reelected. None of you.
We'll get that out of my way. Just get it out of my way.
All right, just try not to hit it.
Call the fire marshal. This is illegal meeting. This is not the right room for this meeting. This meeting has to be postponed. Your vote is not valid. You're not obeying by the fire code. You're not obeying by the fire code. This meeting cannot take place in this room. We got more than the occupancy of this room. This vote does not count. This vote does not count.
There's no bearing on this order. If you don't get off me, I'm telling you, if you don't get off me.
I'm not on you. Am I
Everybody just
touching you?
needs to relax. Everybody just needs to relax.
Touch me again.
Everybody needs to be cool. Let's be all be
I was
cool.
here.
Let's
As
be
long as you don't
cool.
touch me, we don't
Let's
have
be
a
cool.
problem
Let's be
either.
cool.
You
Let's be
lied
cool.
to
Come
your
on.
constituents.
Excuse me, Mr. Hamilton, you lied to us the other day. You said you were going to vote against it. You just voted for it. You did. You said you would vote against it. You said it was going to be a 4-1 vote.
You'll never be reelected, Paul.
You're done, Paul.
You're done.
Why you guys step down now?
You're one and done. You're one and done.
Doesn't matter, we're locked into a 50.
You're one and done, Pete. We're done.
I can get him to vote it on.
I am so disappointed in you. Promise to motion to delay this vote tonight. You promised to make a motion to delay this vote tonight. And you did not.
You gotta go by Robert's rule. They did.
There's 4
It's not a democratic system.
All opposed?
We have 1,000, how many? 250 people signed this. You do not have an overwhelming support for this thing. This pipeline. That's so many more votes than any of you got voted in with.
None of you people have the floor.
I have the floor. I'm telling you, there's 1,000
our
people
floor.
here who want this thing to be done.
We don't want to hear you, Bob. Yeah, Bob.
And how many did they have for? There were 17. There were 17 signatures on the thank you letter. 17.
98% of Sidney does not want the pipeline.
I'm just answering your question. You should have an overwhelming
These people were voted in by.
This room is over capacity. This is a fire hazard.
Officer, the criminals right here in front of you, right here. These are the criminals. These are the criminals. I'm just letting you know. If you gotta throw anybody out, it's the people up front. You better stop touching me right now.
Leave it dry out. What are you gonna do? Will you dry up?
There's an occupancy of 52 on that. There's
Hey,
74
come on.
It's okay. He's not gonna get me out of here.
It's a
Anything
fire.
that happens, anything that happens is null and void.
It's no.
The meeting was conducted illegally.
Can I have a police report?
Sir, there's not enough room for us in here. Sir.
This is an illegal meeting.
That's mine, that belongs to me. Bob, that isn't yours.
No, I know.
Give it to her. Thank you.
The agenda of the meeting was not followed. There are too many people for the room, and we had a meeting in another room before because there was too many people, and they must have known that there would be too many people, but they still had it in small. It seems it's the responsibility of our government, the people that we elected to have a room available.
To accommodate the public.
They accommodate themselves.
This is a town meeting. That's a democracy.
There isn't enough people in the lobby. If people were quiet, they could actually hear it in the hallway. If you went to
That's
any
not the
other
point.
local
They wanna
meeting,
be
if you were in
quiet.
Bainbridge, half the people couldn't get in the building, and the building was 3 times the size of what this room is.
This is a fire hazard. This is a fire hazard what you're operating under right now. This is a fire hazard.
Illegal meeting.
Sir.
Violated the fire law.
As the town attorney, I don't do
I would challenge
You know the open meeting laws as a town attorney.
unelected.
I mean, do I have to read you the open meeting laws as a town attorney? This meeting is null.
Contract is null and void.
This contract is null and
I
void.
challenge the legality of this meeting.
When I make a motion. They didn't follow the agenda. They didn't make a move.
I know, you want,
And they are.
No contract.
Watch out for our best interests. I work for
So for a southern one,
good to find out for our best interests. They're not doing it, they're not carrying out their responsibilities. No, I know you can't, I'm just telling you what's happening, so you might be up to date on what's happening and why there's so many of us here, because we're concerned, those of us who want fracking and drilling, those of us who want a pipeline that's going to lead to that are here, and people who do not want it, and we both have a right to be here.
Simple solution, open the room upstairs.
But it's a public, they
Public
are
hearing was
public
2 months ago.
official. They are public, and my name is on the agenda to speak, and I expect it.
I expect
I would
everybody
have-
else to, I expect everybody to hear.
I am, thank you.
We're not done with the meeting yet, so it's, if we do continue, we can get this actually done. You can see how it's-
You've already made you've already decided to.
We're already decided.
Vote passes over, at this point, you guys can do what
No,
you
it's
want
not.
with it from here.
Well,
I
this-
appreciate and understand your projections, and I understand.
I don't
But
think
it's been
so.
voted on,
I would
it's
like
done.
you to officially
I'm sorry.
accept these 1,254 signatures against this pipeline.
You don't care about your constituents. It's amazing. McCarthy, you're amazing. You don't care about the town, you care about yourself. And your pocket.
You know what, there's just way more people that are in favor of this than that, yeah, so you have your own little group and you'll.
No,
No.
Those
We went and polled the town.
We polled the town, door
The
to
town
door,
of Sidney, correct.
Yes.
and the village.
How many people are here?
Look at the signatures.
Correct.
You're
Every
not
one
from
of-
Sidney.
You're not even from Wilmington.
Are you? So
Yeah,
get
I am.
out. This is my town. Get out.
When are you coming here?
I couldn't.
Hey,
Eric,
knock it off.
Eric,
I'm gonna read a statement on this and concerning the majority reasoning here. The Leatherstocking project for the distribution.
coming out of your mouth.
I don't wanna hear it.
paper is printed on.
get him out of here.
I would like to hear the reasoning.
Get him out of here.
I don't
Let him
want to.
speak, okay?
Like you didn't want to move
We're here
the
to keep
meeting.
the peace, that's what we're gonna do, all right? So just let him speak, please.
I am.
So you knew this was unanimous before you had the meeting?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Okay, the Leatherstocking project for the distribution of natural gas will not only save money for a majority of the town of Sidney residents, it will not cost any residents anything. A private company is investing
Let him speak.
in infrastructure in our town at no cost to the taxpayer. The most important part of this, however, is that we have been blessed with an extraordinary amount of industry for the population of this town, and we owe them the best infrastructure we can maintain. Business has an obligation to its shareholders to make as much money as they can. The decision whether Amphenol stays in Sidney is to a large part financial. I want to make every effort to cut their costs and be as cooperative with them as I possibly can in the hope that they remain in our town.
So why don't you postpone the vote until they decide that?
If you stay in the
Yeah,
town,
I'm
we'll
prepared to
have
answer
a
that.
fight.
Postpone the vote until they decide whether they're staying or not.
Why don't you run for supervisor?
I'm going to.
Go ahead.
I'm going to. Because you're not doing a very good job of it.
No, you're out
Out
of
of
order.
your voice. There's no such thing as out of order.
Oh, yes, there is. Oh.
Oh, I understand there is, but not in this case.
Then what?
Please.
If it all pulls out, do you think they're gonna spend several $1 million on a pipeline?
Well, they already got it.
Yeah.
You give them the authority to, they will.
Then you don't need to sign this today, you don't need to agree to this, this is the
We just
town.
did, ma'am.
Then ban fracking and we'll walk away.
We don't have the authority.
Yes, you
Yes,
do.
you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do.
That's Middleton and Dryden who has the authority.
Considering Corning's history with the information I just provided you, I realized that you came forward, as far as some of the show games that they've been playing, as far as building pipelines and counting lots of
Ma'am, this is over. This is past.
It's not
It's
over.
not, believe me, this is not
Nowhere
over.
near
You got a
over.
long way to go.
They're over. They got
Go ahead.
You opened up a can of worms, you're gonna be sorry you did. That right?
Younger people
He's
don't
already
think
sober.
forward. Their future's ahead of them.
He couldn't give us one foot in the grave.
Well,
talking the
I have
truth.
3 children
I'm talking
in
the
this
truth.
community, and I am concerned about their health and their safety. I am.
This particular vote has nothing to do with Amphenol, because Amphenol's not gonna be in
That
the
is right.
town, it's gonna be in the commercial district, which you already have permission to lay pipe in. This is about encouraging hydrofracking, period.
This has nothing to do with hydrofracking.
Come on.
You are being ripped off, this is how they get into a town.
Nothing to do with fracking, right, Will? Hey, pictures of my ass, $1, help fund drilling.
Yeah, right? Why would Frank Man be here if this is a pipeline issue? Frank Man, I'm sorry, big Frank Man?
I have a big problem with that.
And you're driving an electric car, right? Or was it a truck?
Now they're gonna move out of the area so they can breathe the air.
That's your mentality.
Yeah.
I'm all for keeping about 5,000 gallons of fuel right next to our school. I'll make it easier for someone. I'm all for that.
Okay, now we're missing $2,680. The town clerk is missing. I would like her to explain what the story is, because she never let me know.
Okay. I came back from lunch on the 20th of September, came into my office, as I normally do, and started, everything worked like I normally would, and somebody came in to buy a hunting license. Should I know. But I wonder from a legal standpoint, from the papers I filed, should I?
No, I have no problems with that. I mean, it's under investigation.
Okay, all right. So when I came back into the office, and when I started to sell a hunting license, I took the person's money and I went to the cash drawer, and there was cash missing. I immediately called the police department, and they sent 3 gentlemen over, and as soon as I could get the people out of my office, they locked it, they started asking questions. It was the same day that the supervisor had surgery, so I emailed Mr. Schaefer, who was the deputy supervisor, and told him what had happened. I spoke with the police department, and they told me I should notify the insurance company right away. So I notified the insurance company, the police came over. They did find that there's a door between my office and the supervisor's office that the code enforcement officer uses, and that door does not have a bolt lock, and the molding had been tried. There was no nails about a strip this long, and there's screwdriver marks, and you could jiggle the door. So, they came down, the maintenance department came down and nailed the stuff back, and we put more locks onto the office. So I filed the police report, I talked to the insurance company. The town is covered by a theft policy, under Utica National Insurance, and it's reported this. They said that they didn't believe there would be any problem with it. And the investigation is still ongoing. I had, when the theft happened, Chief of Police, Mr. Hood was out of town. He's since come back. They were in there that day, and they've been in there twice since then. But it was the day that FEMA was in there, and there was an astronomical amount of traffic, and an astronomical amount of sales with cash sales, huge cash sales, 2 back to back, and there was a lot of unfamiliar people in there.
Did we ask how much was missing?
Yeah.
How much?
680, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that.
Do we have any leads, or you can't really say at this stage?
Yeah, it's ongoing.
What have you heard from the insurance company? Nobody, first of all, it wasn't the day I had surgery, my cell phone was on every day but that day. But what have you heard from the insurance company?
It was the 21st. Just that I spoke to the insurance company, I talked to Utica National, the guy from there, and he said it's covered under the theft policy.
Who are they talking to?
They called me.
So you're gonna handle this with the insurance company?
They called me. They called me and asked
Well,
me
they
to fax
called you
them the
because
police
you called them.
They asked me, they called me because I was the clerk and that's where it happened. And I got them the police report.
Wasn't John Schaefer standing in for you, Mr. McCarthy?
Yeah, I spoke with Lisa that.
So you were standing in when he was in the hospital?
Pardon me?
You were standing in it as supervisor for
Correct.
Mr. McCarthy was in the
Right, and
hospital?
Lisa did notify.
So she spoke to you?
Yes.
So it's up to you to talk to the supervisor.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that to call the insurance company.
So make sure that's clear, so
Yeah.
Lisa doesn't look like she's doing something wrong.
Which was the intent.
You know,
Yeah.
it was just odd in the middle of the day, before daylight.
Well, there's a lot of desperate people around.
And a little bit of political tension piece on so maybe there's a little bit
It really bothered me extensively, and I can't remember if you were one of them that came.
Probably
But it's not a nice feeling to know that somebody's been in there.
Yeah.
Huh?
We get it, Lisa. We get it.
Okay, sir. Yeah, right.
Hey, you have a report, Debbie?
Is, you had signed off a lot of the invoices for the hospital. Some of those bills are going to be reimbursed back to us through Amphenol. Some of the expense was incurred in getting them back into the building. Joe Rametti has a draft of a lease agreement with them that he is working on. It's gonna pretty much be the same as it was in, '05 or '06. They will be paying rent as well as a percentage of the electric and fuel oil and some of the other miscellaneous expenses. What I need is have someone do an audit of the books for the town clerk, the tax collector, the registrar, the justice, and the bookkeeper. This is something that is done annually for the comptroller's office, and I've gone ahead and printed out all of the checklists and everything. So we have to do this by the end of the year, and then I have to report back to the comptroller's office. So I thought it'd be easier if maybe 1 or 2 people would do this and report back to the board rather than the board doing, the entire board doing it.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to have somebody, make the motion or do whatever you wanna do with that report.
Pete, you or Paul wanna do that? Or you and Paul?
Yep.
Okay, fine.
The roof, one of the roofs at the hospital is leaking, and we did, had micro back in, and they have determined that there is some, asbestos in that roof. So when, I'm asking to put that out to bid, and that the bid be inclusive of the removal of that asbestos.
We have the asbestos report.
I do. I have it here. So, sorry, go ahead and put that bid out.
Make a resolution.
Make the resolution and put that on.
All in favor? All opposed?
Yep, when you get that bid, can I get a copy of it?
Sure.
That's not the big roof. It's that little.
This is the
that guy
lab
who wanted-
house.
That guy, you have his address, because when we do the big roof, I wanna get a hold of him.
This one is the, lab house area. And it's about 27 feet by 16 feet. No. So we're asking for the 4-inch ISO installation, which is a rated 24 value, with a 20-year warranty on it. The hospital truck, now that we have Amphenol up there, our truck is not doing well. It's leaking gas and tank leaks. It is not made for a plow. So we need to know what we want to do about a truck for the hospital for the winter months. And I have talked to Jamie, the one that's out at East Sidney Dam, the frame on that is not very good. And we're afraid we put the plow on there.
It's almost easier for us all
Okay,
to
fine.
sit down
Okay.
and go through it and get it done.
Well, if you do it like that, though, you don't have to advertise, you got a meeting and all that garbage for, so it's fine.
Oh, no, well, I think we still advertise, but we're gonna be, it'll be
Okay,
everybody.
fine.
But we should just go through it, everybody might be bored, but we're gonna go line to line, but everybody go through the town.
Now, there is, I did hear from the village that the recreation was looking at an increase as well as the rent for the offices here. I think we did not plug in the Justice Department's requests, but I think we kind of went through and looked at the bills year to date and kind of guesstimated going forward. So if there's any questions on that budget right now, ask or.
15 or 16. So you may want to go through what that's actually costing you before you come to, you know, but I would be for giving you some more money.
Again, that'll be part of the budget.
Jamie?
Okay, thanks. Everybody got a copy of our inventory list? This is the month we do the inventory, we do it once a year, we'll go through and then update our list. It's got all the trucks, our equipment onto it. I brought down to Lisa, she made the changes for me, and made copies for everybody, she don't have one. We've had a kickoff meeting for FEMA for Hurricane Irene, which the town had a lot of tree damage, there was a lot of trees down. That meeting was in Valheim. So it looks like they're going to be helping us with that. And then we had another kickoff meeting for the tropical storm Lee, which was for flooding. And we had some minor washouts and culvert damage. We had culvert damage in the city center. Some guide rails out on Tebow Road. Sinkhole happened. The guide rails down. A lot of small spots. We were helping the village for down here for about 10 days. We helped the village pick up the flood debris from the people down here with all our trucks, and we got our loader down here and helped pick that stuff up. We had some flood trash of our own in the town along the river road out towards Tego that was flooded for 2 days, and the river road going from Giants Corners to Cars Creek that was flooded. And we had some debris out there we had to pick up. We brought that over to the same place. The village, I talked to them, and they were in agreement that we could bring our stuff over there too. We had about 7 loads, so it wasn't really too bad for the town. The crews are coming up, we're going to be there, helping out for 2 days. And truck 7, one of our pickups had transmission lines rusted through. We had to replace the transmission lines, and we got underneath there in the transmission pan also was rusted through, so we could replace that. Some of the other trucks.
What kind of project?
We're still working on those now.
You're still working on it
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we seem to get the boot allowances this time of year, and it's like hunting season, it's all from Cabela's and, you know. And I wondered, are they required to wear steel toe boots? or-
No.
No, okay. So that's probably a nice boot to have just for work then, if they're not required.
And that's through the union negotiated all that.
Right. And another question, there was an invoice for, on the 350 pickup for a lens. Was that from a mishap?
At least a year. So, and I'm now, apparently, he hasn't called me yet, but apparently Dan Ayers had said something to them about, after they told us they weren't expanding anymore this year, that Vassar wants to go in for some more. I've got a meeting with them Thursday. Both of those guys are very cooperative, and I expect things to go very well. We had a problem here with this election that the town clerk does not live in the county. So I contacted the Attorney General's office to check on whether this is going to, what's happening is legal or not. And I want a resolution from the board to give to the Attorney General's office to look into this.
Do you live in the town?
Yes, I do, and I've been certified, John. I have a letter dated June 15th, signed by the Board of Elections, both commissioners, the Democratic commissioner and the Republican commissioner. There was an investigation done by the Sheriff's Department.
Where do you live? Your
My address
physical address,
is
yeah.
552 Crane Hill Road.
You live there?
Yeah.
Well, that's not so, and you live
Bob,
in Otsego County.
you went and filed with the county clerk a notice of a claim against the county. You are suing the county, and you signed it as Bob McCarthy, Town of Sydney Supervisor. You didn't ask Pete, you didn't ask John, you didn't ask Eric, you didn't ask Paul. If you want to sue the county over my residency, you have every right to do that personally. I called over there. You signed it as Bob McCarthy, Town of Sydney Supervisor.
You know, I think to clarify, we need to make a resolution with the Attorney General's office. I make a motion that we do, let them determine whether it's correct or not.
It already has been.
Oh, no, it has not.
Yes, it has.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Yay.
Okay, 3-2, it passed. Okay, now,
And I'm gonna ask them about that you have no problem bringing something like that personnel thing out into the public that is supposed to be done in executive session.
Has anybody questioned, Cliff Crouch's residency? I'm just curious.
I had a move. And Sandy Gardecki lives in Sydney now. She resigned as town clerk in Tompkins because she was moving out of the town. Our last justice, when moved to Pittsburgh, he was forced to resign.
You're not running a dictatorship here, you know? You can't just get all your friends on the board and have it run your way like that.
Okay, now, with the budget and the state of the town, we have found a great deal of money that I believe, and to your point, I believe the only person that knew that we had this money was the former bookkeeper, who doesn't work for us anymore, so nobody knew it, but we found well over $1 million. So we have enough money now to pay the note that we owe. But we're not allowed to pay early because in the bond, you can't pay early, and there's probably no chance of them taking this early because interest rates are so low that people are not gonna do that. So, I think my suggestion to these guys is, and it's Eric and John are the initial people on the thing, but I don't believe that, I believe that we should sit on this money for a year and see what's happening with the 2% cap and what's happening with Amphenol and a number of other things that are gonna go on around here. On the 2% cap, I believe you went to a meeting, right, And I think Nancy said that you agreed with her that the state is recommending that you don't pass the thing because of the laws are so screwed up?
Yeah, the state recommends that you pass a resolution while the town would have to do a local law to override cap, because there are so many variables that nobody knows the answers to, and it's always very possible to exceed that without even trying. That way, if you pass that local law, you don't get in trouble, you don't have to start special accounts to put the money into. It just saves a lot of hassle for you.
And I think the intent of that was so that the landowners hit with the more than 2%
Yeah, but
increase.
we're not gonna be there anyway, but it's just a question, I don't wanna wind up.
The cost will go above the 2%, so it's so you can raise more than the 2%, but the whole intent of it was so, people are tired of 3, 4, 5% taxes. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
unless
Well, the
somebody wants
bottom
a
line
motion at this point.
is that what's gonna happen is this note is finished in 2016.
Right.
We have enough money, we really don't, because that would short us in any kind of reserve. But by next year we will, and we ought to make some kind of plans as to
I'd
what
like
we're
to
gonna,
try and-
to try to,
To
run
force
this
that
down.
money to pay for that
Right,
note would
and
be
lower,
nice.
and it's gonna lower,
From now
when the
through
note is paid, that's $335,000 a year that's not on a budget.
But you need to be cautious because you need
Yes.
to do this resolution, you need to do the law, you need to have an open meeting on that and get it all done by the time you're doing your preliminary budget, correct?
We don't have to have a public hearing for that, do we?
I thought you do. Any law, since it's gonna be a town law, has, yeah.
Okay, let's advertise another public hearing.
Yep, another one.
Just so you know, I mean, the next meeting, we're gonna do a budget meeting, we can look at it at that time, establish the next November meeting as your open meeting, and it's gonna be your budget hearing meeting as well. So, we just gotta work towards that in November.
Okay, so we have time to.
And Nancy has researched all the different things on that, so we'll know just how to do it.
And I have forwarded, she had copies of resolutions from the town of Hamden, Roxbury. There was 5 or 6 different files I did copy and send over to Joe, so he has all those files.
You have, make a motion anymore.
I wish that much time had been spent on the other issues. I wish that much time and research and, follow-up had been presented at the beginning of this meeting. That was very professional of you that you did that, and I wish that happened at the
You
beginning.
seconded? All in favor? All opposed?
What about the
Thank you for coming.
What about, I thought it was going to happen. We're not able to speak?
That's not, she made that agenda, not me, the supervisor makes the agenda, she didn't even give me one.
I emailed it to you.
You've been out of
I
commission.
didn't speak, and I don't, and all these other people did,
If nothing else, my hand was raised before you closed the meeting. And all I wanted to
It's
say.
not a public meeting, man.
Let him speak, let him speak.
It's not about public
government either, why we have
Yeah, apparently not. All I wanted to say was, if it would be possible for you to make, I made 2 copies, if it would be possible for you to make copies of what I gave you today. All I would ask is that you read what I provided you before you actually physically sign the document. I don't want you to be able to say later that I didn't know. About the various things that I've brought up with this company, the risk that you're putting the town in. Yeah, Michaels.
I believe I think everybody got the email.
Essentially, this is different. I just wrote off the top 2 pages today, and then the other One thing I did want to say is, I just know the public hearings that we have, I would really have to question their validity if for no other reason that, it was portrayed that Leatherstocking gas does not have, nor will it have, eminent domain status. Corning, which is pretty much the face behind the name, they already have the power of eminent domain.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Corning Natural Gas?
They claim that they haven't, in over 100 years, they haven't used any natural.
They have the power of eminent domain.
It's not whatever, if it comes from your house.
I spoke to public services, they do have it. And the thing is, even, people have been led to believe that they don't have this power and that they won't, they won't be able to use it. That even the towns could actually, put something into the agreement saying that they won't be able to use it. The only problem is, if they're involved in either interstate or interstate commerce, the town will have no control over that if you sign this agreement. So I mean, I'm just trying to say, the townspeople have been told that this is not an issue, and it is. I mean, that's, that was just, one thing. Another thing is this local gas for local people. One of the things that I came across in there was how they had, taken this local gas, supposedly they've got more than they could ever possibly use. And this was in a different area, but I've got to think they've got the same plans for us. And then they're injecting it into interstate pipelines. It's just a fallacy that's been fed to people, and that's not right. How can you base a public hearing on a lie? I mean, if you can, to have a true public hearing, people need to know the truth before, so they can give a legitimate response to that. And that just wasn't fair.
Well, we had 2 hours at the last meeting where that pretty much dominated the floor, so.
I'm just saying, how can the people fairly comment or in a comprehensive way if what they're being told is a lie? And that's not fair to constituents. There can be no legitimate participation. I'm just trying to say,
Supervisor, what you read, I'm a little bit confused at, because we were at that original meeting when Leatherstocking came in. And my understanding that it was very clear that the town of Sidney taxes were gonna go up. We were gonna absorb a lot of the costs. And I'm a little bit confused on what you read.
How are you gonna absorb that company is absorbing all the costs. There's no cost.
That's not what they stated in that very first meeting.
Not the loss of my.
Because
loads of costs.
Let her talk, let her talk.
I understand the frustration because really, a lot of people don't let people finish and think and do. And, I'm terrified. I'm not pro, I'm not against. I think it's not right. I don't understand how the pipeline can go through when we're unsure. There's just so much, and I understand that you've already voted on it, and it's very disappointing.
Ma'am, we're at risk of losing an employer that has 1,000 people. Towns competing with us, like Oneonta and Norwich, have natural gas. You have an obligation as a business, running a business, to make money for your shareholders. Plants do have to go where they're gonna make the most money, and I would like to help that plant stay here.
Well, Amphenol, we all understand that Amphenol is very important here, and they cannot afford for their customers to go through the flooding again. I know that for a fact. They've said that. They've already told their people, the people that are in the hospital, this is a fact and it's in writing, you are not, the administration, you are not going back to the plant that exists.
That's true.
I understand that. And they are looking everywhere, within the 4 counties, because they do have an allegiance.
I don't blame them for not wanting to get flooded.
No, none of us do. And I don't know if this is possible, because I'm not against natural gas. Those of us that know natural gas, like you said, and everybody has natural gas. Is there any way with the pipeline that before we sign the lease as it stands, that we can slow down or hinder the opportunity that they would have to promote local hydrofracking in our area?
This has nothing, they're not even in that business.
They're a delivery system. They are a delivery system.
Right.
They want to deliver it.
Right.
So can we somehow put in the clause for the town people that we will review that at another time, or?
Ma'am, this is not, when this happens, they are not gonna let people like us determine what's gonna happen.
What? You're the government.
He's talking about the actual drilling and fracking.
That's
not our authority.
I understand the state has, but there are, if you read and watch, there's local townships all around us, all around the state, that are at least making an effort to let the state know that this is not the way that we want to grow. And we don't either. We all want this place to prosper. There's a black cloud over Sidney. We know that, and we're all here to save it also. It just seems like there's such a fight for things that just go against the right grain. And hydrofracking right now is not the right
This
thing
has
to
nothing to
do.
do with hydrofrac.
But it does,
No, it
because,
doesn't.
because they are a delivery system. We're not stupid.
Well,
You're not stupid. Nobody's stupid.
When we asked them if it would invite fracking into the area, he said possibly.
He did.
He said possibly.
He did.
My question to Supervisor
I heard it.
is there a way in the lease?
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
So it's
In fairness to some of the other people that have come in, you say,
No, you're-
Well, I'm just-
amphenol, that's not true. I
Well,
had
you know,
people
when you
approach
say
me
there's
and
a-
say that amphenol poison in Sydney Center,
Well-
Richardson Hill, and they should be closed down.
Well, there's a whole
One
section that
disagrees
believes
with
that.
But that, just some of those people feel that way, and I understand that. So there's not all that pro-amphenol out there.
We
that you're
all
saying.
understand also with big corporations, Amphenol's not the only one that has gone against what they should be doing and poisoned waters. I'm from the Hudson River, that it's taken them billions of years, not billions, to clean up the Hudson River because of all the industry along. And I hate to say it, that's a part of business, and it's not an acceptable part of business, but it is. So when I say everybody, there's an area, there's a gray area where there's right and there's wrong, and we know some people sway either way, when you're bringing up your kids, the whole thing. But I guess my request is, if there's a section or a way that we can add to this lease, just right now, just to say, fine if what is the agency? The Public Service Commission does agree to have this go. What we as a township, because we all care, we want to have some sort of a law, a home rule, a say in what your pipeline that we have privileged you to come into our area can do with that. That's all that I'm asking. Before we just sign what they give you and just say, sure, you can do anything you want. Can we be responsible?
What we are basically signing is what the village signed.
And it's more or less what the electric companies have. I just view it that it's infrastructure for natural gas.
No.
And it's over most of the country. And yes, they might invite the fracking, which I understand.
So what you're saying is no, that you won't even consider putting in a.
First of all, you
can't
can't
do
pass
it.
it,
We
that's
passed
true.
this-
I'm sure, unless somebody wants to motion to change it, we have to have another
He's
public
still,
hearing
I'm
and
confident
change
that
that
Joe
contract.
will write an agreement that will protect people in the
Joe
town's
will.
best.
Joe-
Joe Armani, the town attorney.
Oh, Joe Armani.
Were you aware of Mario Gabelli's recent buy-in into Corning?
No.
It's like, I think he bought, if I understood what I was reading correctly, 20%, it looked like a little bit over 20% of the company.
Who was buying it?
Mario Gabelli, and the companies he's affiliated with, I think it's Gamco or something like that. And their history, I mean, he just had to pay out, he was fined like $100 million by the FCC for, defrauding the government. One of his own part, I mean, if they'll sit there and perpetuate a fraud on higher forms of government, their own, their own, I don't know if you call them co-workers, their own co-investors. I mean, how does the town, who is so little and knows so much less?
I put a lot of personal trust in Joe Moravito. I went to school with him, I know him, I have not communicated with Joe whatsoever. He hasn't approached me unlike so many other people have, so.
And what about this guy Gabelli that owns 20%?
I don't know.
Who said that happened?
But,
And
I trust Joe
I read it, I just read it online, Mario Gabelli.
Where?
I'm sorry?
Read it online where?
Give them the website.
Jose Corning's,
The AG's office?
Yeah.
For what?
Question of residency, that actually came from them, they're the ones that actually suggested we adopt.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up.
This came from the Attorney General's office, and they suggested we had.
They asked
Oh, so the Attorney General.
To investigate whatever they decide is.
The AG's office petitioned you about the problem, or you petitioned them?
I want to see the AG's.
Can I ask, the clerk,
My name's Debbie.
Debbie, you mentioned the Justice Department in conjunction with your report.
I was just letting them know that some of the departments, for the budget purposes, have asked for an increase. It's the town justice.
Okay.
We, our Justice Department, we pay part of their salary and the village pays part of their salary. And they have asked our part of it for an adjustment in the budget. I always send out a little memo to all departments asking what their wish list is for the upcoming budget in preparation to determine what we may have to include or not accept in the development of the budget.
Could you tell me where they're gonna run the pipeline if they do?
That's up to the public, I don't mind.
So it's gonna be on public
It
property.
would just be like us trying to tell the electric company where they can put lines in. We're gonna let them put it in where they see fit on public roadways or public roadways.
Does Bainbridge have to approve this also?
I would assume.
They're basically doing the same thing, they're generating a franchise agreement, and I believe all the way up through there. It's not just-
So if they don't approve, if they don't approve, then what happens? Is it a
Can I say one thing?
It's a no-go?
I have a document in my possession that describes that Corning in the town of Caton, once they got their franchise agreement, had to go back to the town board for nothing. They didn't have to ask your approval for anything after that agreement was signed. That means they have free reign of your town. Don't you get that? You don't have any say.
Just like the electric company, I think is my understanding.
Okay, it's not electric.
It's a different industry.
Issues of like slope and,
With poisons involved and radiation.
I live here.
trees and things that the town, you might have control before you start, but once it's done, it's done.
Yep, no, I
And
realize that. I'm looking forward to having natural gas in our community. And
At
I
any
don't think
cost?
it'll be the next 10 years.
At any cost?
At no cost to me.
But so,
Your understanding is because, oh, they might frack, and I understand that. And
everybody's property rights and-
fully
They're
sympathize with
going
your
to
understanding.
frack.
I'm not very
This
worried
is
about
the
it.
infrastructure for fracking. This is why you're attracting them by this line.
Corning has a poor history with leak prone pipelines. I mean, another
Corning
thing
does?
is, I'm sorry?
Corning has a.
Corning, absolutely, Corning. They were under investigation by the Public Service Commission. And that's just
so you don't even know this. You don't even know this. And they're the company that's the mother company of this other company that's coming in here.
Well, I didn't see that at the public hearing.
But you should be doing research.
We put everything in front of you.
Information out, I know I sent it out at least the other day. And I
You
mean,
dismiss us because you see us as the enemy. We're trying to help.
I'm not seeing you as the enemy.
Yeah, but you're not reading anything we're supplying to you.
Oh, I'm giving you the facts.
You know,
you're choosing not to read them.
Where once again you said you don't care.
You told us at City Center you couldn't care less about
gas
the people.
industry is coming to the town board and controlling the town board. Just the opposite is true. I haven't seen anybody in the gas
Rabbito's your
industry,
friend.
other than Leatherstocking coming to the public hearing.
Right.
And, you know,
Wait till that changes when they get a signed franchise agreement. That's when it changes.
2009.
Does a salesman tell you the truth when he's trying to sell you something? No, it's after you've signed the contract and all of a sudden all these things come out. Are you seriously? You've never dealt with anybody before in your whole entire life?
But I can't see that.
Well, then you need to seriously wake up.
You need to spread, get a
No, but I mean,
better set of
I was
spectacles.
reading, from your
Franchise?
your talks that you had from your meeting, and it sounded like Corning was, or Corning Leatherstocking, was saying that, like, oh, it's, you know, kind of like right in, it's like Public Service Commission stuff or whatever, that they cover, not cutting down trees over a certain size, or, I spoke with Paul Augusto of the Public Service Commission, he's in the legal department, and he said, if, the only control is if the towns control that. If that's not in the town agreement, that's, the control's out the window, the Public Service Commission has nothing to do with that. And I mean, I'm just saying, it's like they're telling you things that,
You're opposed to cutting down trees too?
I'm sorry?
You're opposed to cutting down the trees?
Of course.
Do I want them cutting down, I mean, all these, of course I'm cutting,
Okay.
do I mean, they're going through the right of ways, I mean, I live, part of my property lives, I mean, is like right on a state highway. You know, that's 75 feet from road center, according to them, I mean, according to my figures, I think it should be, I think it's actually 66 feet, either way, it's ugly. So they're gonna be able to cut all the trees that line my property. I've got, you know, like probably 20 feet of trees lining my property. They can just sit there and cut them all down. If the town does nothing to do, if the town does nothing to stop it, you know.
Legally, why wouldn't you guys cover us? you know, why wouldn't you?
That part is not etched in stone yet. He's still drafting the agreement. So these are things that, yes, and I'm not saying we're going to go, but it's not too late to try to interject these. Those are good points.
But I mean,
how do
this-
we
this-
do that?
One of the other things with Corning's history, I mean, I live over in Coventry, and they were saying how, we're not gonna need any compressor stations for these pipelines, but when pressed on it, they ended up saying, we don't know what we don't know what the producers are gonna do. You start going through their paperwork, they made some kind of a deal with one of the producers. The producer built a $11 million, an $11 million compressor station and $2.1 million, so for a total of $13.1 million. It was the compressor station and some pipelines. They built it and sold it to Corning for $2.
In the private meeting that this board, some of these board members had with Leatherstocking, two members of.
Private meeting you had with me?
No. The private meeting that Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Wilson were at.
We have the document.
We have the document. He's in attendance.
We foiled them.
We foiled them.
We foiled the minutes of the meeting.
2 gate stations were mentioned in that meeting. Nothing was mentioned like that in the public. 96 wells were mentioned in that private meeting minutes.
We're talking about 96
96 wells were mentioned when they mentioned 5 in the public meeting.
When Leatherstocking was in this meeting.
And Russ Miller, the guy from Leatherstocking, said, once those 96 wells are in play, you'll never be able to use all that gas. So is that local gas for local people, or are we going to be shipping it out of here? There's law. So then they're lying. They just said local gas for local people.
If they use the gas that they get here first for the town of Sidney and help Amphenol and Meade, I'm thrilled to death.
Okay, that's fine. But they're saying they're going to get so much gas, they're going to ship it out. So they're not telling the truth already.
Do you think people go in business to lose money?
Well,
No, but at what
I'm in
cost?
business.
You're selling your
I'm not going
town.
business. I can sell somebody else down the river for my business.
You're selling your town so this corporation can come in here and make money on us.
Well, we're losing.
Why would they do it?
Because we're losing.
Because the town's losing.
Why is the town losing?
Because they're going to come in here and destroy it. Don't you get it?
They're gonna.
And you're laughing.
You're
Wow.
laughing.
It's
These
in
are the
meeting
facts.
you were in. They want to build 96 wells
In this area.
So what? I don't want any wells in my area. I need my
We
water pumped
moved to
in.
this area because it was
You
rural.
have to have them on your property.
It will affect our property no matter where they are. The air quality travels for 200 miles.
Do you think I want to hear flares all night
They have
long?
any choice whether or not to have them on our property. They're gonna go run right through it.
This is heavy
But nobody else put
industry
it
and
through.
not alone our heavy industry in the town of Sidney.
I was in Albany at the DEC hearings where they want to make the DEC, the EIS, so it's safe for, so it really will be safe. And one of the things that was said in that meeting with the DEC is if a town is going to be involved in any way that might lead to oil drilling, that the town, on behalf of the people in the town and the village, should set some rules ahead of time to protect the town from what these people are talking about, the eminent domain of it. And this came through from DEC in the hearings, and I imagine that some of you are going to those hearings so that you know you're up to date on what's happening.
I
But that's
think
why-
the attorney is already drafting
Yeah,
rules
that's why
regarding,
we're
rules for-
making, we wanna make
for helping
certain
rebuild the roads.
that you're not selling us down the road,
What?
and that you're aware and knowledgeable. And if we have the knowledge, and we can share it with you if you didn't have it, because we're in it together, we're all gonna have to breathe that air. I went to Dimmock the other day, and I came back sick because of the things in my nose. So it's not just my land, and not just your land that's drilled, but it's mine too. So I think we are not really here to be mean or here to cause you trouble, but we're here
because we love
we're-
Sidney.
We're here because we want you, our leaders, to be certain that you're protecting us and yourselves, and we're afraid.
And our children.
We're really afraid because we know what the gas companies do. The gas companies are not here for you or you or you or me. They're here for themselves.
Thank you all for coming.
He rolled his eyes. He rolled his eyes. He couldn't care less. He couldn't care less.
When's the next meeting?
Second Thursday, although no, the first Thursday of November.
Wait, okay. Tell me.
Because the election was coming up.
Let's just, go ahead, right there. Go ahead, tell me.
Well, we know the election's coming up, so I thought the town and the Friends of Sustainable Sydney, which is a little group that we founded, decided to start interviewing the candidates, including the current board, because we need to know who we have to vote for. I spoke to John Schaefer. Okay, it was myself, it was Jessica, it was Lottie, and it was Albert. And we asked him simple questions. The questions were something like, hey, do you really think fracking or the pipeline is a good thing for cities? He said, yeah, of course. I was like, do you realize that the whole town is against it? I'm completely aware that the whole town is against it. Completely aware. But you know what? This is what I want.
No, wait, I thought we were supposed to be like a representative democracy.
Exactly. But that's how they operate. We asked them, what happens when our water gets contaminated? So I buy water. This was his answer. I'll buy water. So you're gonna be the guy to stand in the shower with me to pour water over me with this big old bottle? They don't get it. They don't understand. He told Albert, well, if you don't like fracking, buy up all the land. 98% of the town of Sidney is completely against fracking and completely against the pipeline.
But he kept saying the pipeline is not about fracking. But I was at the meeting in August where I heard the Morabito guy or one of those guys say, well, it might be. And then he totally backpedaled.
In one of the public meetings, they had a meeting stating that they're going to have this little pipeline going through Bainbridge, Sydney, and Coventry, tapping into 3 orphan wells. Which, if you do research online, these wells really don't produce much gas.
So, here's what I heard. At that meeting, I heard, we don't know the route of the pipeline. We don't know where the supply is going to be. Maybe it was you.
I questioned him on the way.
And I don't know where it's going to go.
And he doesn't have to tell us. That was his answer. Oh, I don't have to tell you. So you don't continue to go to the pipeline in town, but yet you don't get the town's approval. What is that?
Right.
So we foiled all the documents from the town, and we found a private meeting between Bob McCarthy, Wilson, Everett Wood, and a couple other planning board members. The rest of the board was gone. We're talking about 2 gate stations and 96 wells. Where are they building these 96 wells?
So it is about fracking.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
Well, according to Bob McCarthy, I don't have to have it in my backyard. Well, I don't want it in my town. Actually, I don't want it in the Tri-County. I don't want it at all.
Tell me what your name is.
My name is Paul Murray.
Can you spell your last name?
Yeah, Muratre.
Okay, thank you so much.